2023 Managing Your Wealth Workshop. As always, we discuss the important points of financial planning because we feel an educated client is our best client. So we do take into consideration the 5 key areas: preservation planning, retirement planning, tax planning, estate planning, investment planning. So as a comprehensive financial services firm, we try always to consider the impact of our recommendations on these 5 areas for our clients. So after a healthy 2021, the first trading day of 2022 was good for investors. But that was that. After that, the 2022 year ended up being one of the roughest years in our financial services history. The Dow continued to fall, the S&P and the NASDAQ all continued to fall. Seasoned investors understand equities are long-term investments and market declines are part of the experience. The same way traffic jams are part of driving experience. It was unwelcome, it was a disappointing year. The best part is that 2022 is over. So let's recap briefly some events from 2023 and then we can focus on what we have ahead. So in 2022, there were very major challenges. Inflation was high. Interest rates were rising in order to combat inflation. Economic growth slowed. The fiscal and monetary stimulus packages that were used for COVID went away. And we had global unrest. All of us have heard about the war in Ukraine. So these are things that contributed to the equity markets going down. As stated earlier, we were enjoying the longest bull market in history. Since 2009, we had a bull market all the way through to 2022. And then that's when the bear market began. So as you can see from the chart in 2022, it was the worst year since 2008. So since it was a roller coaster ride, there were some ups, mostly downs, but the experience was a consistent downward trend. Even with a strong fourth quarter, as shown here in the chart, it wasn't enough to bring the losses of the year up to standard. So we did a little better toward the end, but we still didn't win the day, so to speak. On a positive front, the Fed's efforts in raising interest rates to slow down inflation started to work. So you note here in June, it was 9%. In December, it was down to 6%. So it was a slowing of the inflation rate. What we are looking for is this progress to be continued. The rate of inflation that Americans have seen at the housing front, healthcare, transportation, and food is much larger than just what the inflation rate is. So groceries are up, energy costs are up, healthcare is up, and housing is up. So these are difficult times indeed. In 2023, what's ahead? So we've seen these interest rates continue to increase. The reason being, the Fed feels raising interest rates will slow the economy down. That'll make it harder to borrow money, or it's more expensive to borrow money. So they started with large increases, and then they slowed them down a little bit. So we've actually had the fastest upward cycle in history in 2022 of the Fed tightening money. So we're at 4.25. So in February of 2023, they raised the interest rates again, and they did it by a quarter point, so now we're at 4.75. It's anticipated that this Fed rate will continue to go up as long as we see inflation on the horizon. Unemployment is included in this, personal consumption, consumer price index. These are some of the things the Fed looks at. So they're trying to keep a vigilant eye out. But we need to keep a vigilant eye out because these interest rates are hurting market rates of return. Here's an interesting point, bond rates and interest rates. So there's an inverse relationship. When interest rates go up, bond prices go down. When interest rates go down, bond prices go up. So bonds many times are considered more stable, but 2020 year was one of the worst years for bonds. They actually followed the stock market down and had a pretty significant loss of about 12%. So this is the biggest loss since 1999. The Treasury bond yield return was -10, so that tells you how rough a year 2022 was. As of December, the 5-year Treasury note yielded 3.99. Today it's about the same. The 10-year note yields 3.88. That's about what it is today. But there's an inverse relationship because the 20-year and 30-year rates are actually not what we see today. So the 5 and the 10 are actually higher than the longer term. This is difficult. This is a indicator of a recession. However, we can't tell you if it will happen or when it will happen or how severe it will be. Our goal is to try to not to predict the future, but just give you a solid financial plan that can weather the storm. What about safety? Oh, take my money out of the market, let's put it into CDs. And this is what CDs are earning. 1.4 was in January. We have seen a few go up as high as 2.25. So it's not significantly safe when you look at inflation as being about 6%. So it hasn't really made a place to run to. So what are we saying? As we enter 2023, we maintain caution. Multiple factors are in play. Interest rates are rising. We see long-term difficulties in the economy because of the global economy has unrest, the war in Ukraine, difficulty with energy, the saber rattling with Korea, China, Iran. These are all affecting the markets and affecting people. There's a lack of confidence that things will get better. But one of our goals here is to help our clients make smarter financial decisions, because that will lead to better outcomes. So let's look ahead just a little bit. The talk of a recession remains in the news. The Fed's interest rate hikes continue to drive U.S. markets to a recession, but that hasn't happened yet. The Fed is saying that the projected economic growth in 23 will be 0.5%. That's small, but it is growth, so that means that's not a recession. So they're hoping for what they call a soft landing. However, past performance isn't a guarantee of current or future results because history doesn't always tell the whole story. But when we look at long-term results, then we're less likely to see that emotional swing. So if you look at this is what happens after recessions. So if we hit a recession, this is the returns 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years. So we're looking at some very healthy returns after a recession. So are we afraid of recession? Of course, but we're also looking past that. So what are we looking for? Continued cost of borrowing will increase. So if you have any non-essential debt, pay it off. If you have any income-producing investments, review them. Let's make sure they're in the best place they can be. This is an ideal time to practice patience and focus on the long term. So the key takeaways from this section is the bear market could continue. So look at your budget, determine what's necessary versus what's discretionary. Have a well-devised plan to fit your unique situation. We're happy to help you create that. Customize it to your situation. Many variables are there, including your age, time horizon, tax results, liquidity needs, risk tolerance, overall personal objectives. But the point we're making here is proceed with caution, because we feel the best strategy is to stay on course long term. Long term is what we want to focus on. Now, this next section is about tax planning, and I want to spend a little more time here. Why is that? Because there's been some new tax rules that were legislated at the end of last year. The name of that is Secure 2.0. Significant changes will be in this tax rule that affect us this year, as well as some of the opportunities ahead. Not all these ideas are appropriate for everybody's situation. So it's informational at this point. And if you want to discuss your situation, let's do that with a one-on-one meeting. So here's some proactive tips. First, tax brackets for 2023 have been announced. So if you're a single filer, look in the left column. If you're married, look in the right column. That gives you your brackets, and it gives you how much you have to pay in taxes. Standard deductions are at the bottom. Single is 12.9. Standard for married is 27.7. So that's a significant standard deduction. The concept is to simplify your tax return, if at all possible. Here's another interesting point, is that capital gains rates have been adjusted. So if you're married, you have on your adjusted gross income $89,000 plus, you have to pay 15% on your capital gains tax rates. If you're under that, you pay 0. If you're over $500,000, you pay 20. We can help you with that in your non-qualified accounts by using tax overlay strategy to limit your capital gains. And it works significantly better than doing it just as a whim or just taking a shot at it. So retirement planning is always helpful, but note we've got some new contribution plan limits. 401s are now 22.5. Simples are 15. Defined contribution plans are 66. And then we have catch-up provisions for those over 50. If you have any questions about that, just give me a call. Gift exclusions are $17,000 this year. So that means you can give $17,000 per person away. And this has no tax on the gift. So you can contribute to a working child and their IRA. You can give to a 529 plan with this $17,000 maximum. Another one is very interesting because we can be proactive rather than reactive by just determining to use some of these tools that we're talking about in the next few slides. So the Secure 2.0 Act went into effect for 2023. It's one of the largest bills to address the taxes with our retirement difficulties that we're having. The required minimum distributions are moved to 73. So if you're not 72 yet, you get an extra year or so on that. And then they will continue to rise until 2032, when you have to be 75 for that to happen. Another good thing is the penalty for failing to take a required minimum distribution is reduced to 25%. And if you catch it and correct it yourself, it's only a 10% penalty. So that's a nice little feature instead of 50. Another one, you have the opportunity to put aside $50,000 into a qualified charitable distribution if you use a charitable remainder unit trust or a charitable remainder annuity trust or a charitable gift annuity. And this one is adjusted for inflation. Now this is different than a straight QCD, and we'll talk about that in another slide in just a moment. So this is where money goes directly from your IRA, where you purchase a charitable remainder annuity or gift annuity. Roth SEPs and simple plans are now available in 2023. What does this mean? Roth plans are not taxable in the back. They're taxable up front. So you pay the tax on the small part, and then you never pay tax again. It's deferred. And then when you withdraw it, there's no tax. Better feature. So they made the SEP from traditional, where you pay the tax on the gain, to you pay the tax on the deposit. Simple plans are allowed that way too. So if you're contributing to a SEP or a simple, it can be changed this year. 529 plans, this is a very unique feature. If you have contributed to a 529 and your children didn't use it all for college expense, they can hold on to it. If the plan is 15 years old, they can convert to a Roth IRA with no taxes. This is a powerful feature if you have excess in your 529s. Now, should I convert from a traditional to a Roth? It depends. And this shows you if your marginal tax rate is higher than your beneficiaries, it doesn't make sense to convert. If your marginal tax rate is lower than your beneficiaries, it may make sense to convert. So you have to look at it from who gets the money and how much you're paying now. So it's something we'll help you with. If you have any questions, please let me know. The next point we want to make is when we do Roth IRA conversions, there are benefits. It allows less tax to be paid on income long term. It's tax-free compounding. There's no required minimum distributions, and the withdrawals for you and for your beneficiaries is tax-free. So if you're still working, see if you have the Roth feature in your 401k and change over to the Roth. If you're not working and you have a traditional IRA, let's look at a conversion and see if the benefit makes sense in your situation. Here's another one. If you are using charitable contributions through the years, you can bunch them together. How do you do that? You use a donor-advised fund. So if you're gifting under the standard deduction, you can't take it off your income tax. But if you bunch them together in a 3-year period, you can count it. So how do you do it? You give it to your donor-advised fund, and then when they distribute it, you get to pull that benefit. So we can explore the donor-advised fund if you're in that circumstance. This is the other QDC that we talked about. If you're over 70 and a half and you want to take money from an IRA, you can take it directly to a 509C charity. And this is up to $100,000. So if you want to give a donation to the charity of your choice from your IRA, it counts as the RMD, but there's no tax on it. So this is a good tool to use. So we got lots of helpful information. Let's be proactive rather than reactive. We have some tax report available. We have mailed it. If you didn't get a copy, we brought a few with us tonight, or you can get it in an email. We're happy to help you with that. Remember, we're trying to constantly educate you on changes, so stay in touch with us. We'll give you the latest. Here's our disclosures, and most of all, we want to tell you how much we appreciate you. This year, our goal is to help more people just like you. So add someone to the mailing list or invite them to attend a presentation. When you do, there's a special benefit to you. So thank you very much for your attention, and we look forward to more time together. So please enjoy all of the good things that are going on, and let's continue to work together. Thank you for your kind attention.